With your VoiceOver Match Dailycast for today, Thursday, August 29th, I'm Chris Lanning from NeighborhoodStage.com. Now, as I mentioned before, all this week on the VoiceOver Match podcast, my guest was Peter Stewart, who is a 30-year broadcast veteran over in the UK and a very talented individual. Now, today, we're going to wrap up the discussion that we had, at least for this week, on how to convey your message when doing a voiceover.
So first things first, read the script, whether it be a news script or whether it be a voiceover script. Work out, what is the story here? What is somebody trying to sell? What are the attributes of this particular product that are the most memorable? And, well, in the very basic way, underline some of those words. Now, obviously, there are different kinds of voiceover reading, and you could be big and butch, and I'm looking around, see if there's something here in the studio that I can read out. But you could be stressing every single word if it's a really hard sell for something. And of course, that's one particular style. But if you're doing something much softer, much more gentle, perhaps much more engaging, perhaps much more compelling than just shouting at people, you've really got to be concentrating on the subtleties of lifting. And notice a couple of times I've said lifting. I'm not talking about stressing a word like I did then, but just lifting it slightly can make all the difference. That's what we do naturally with our intonation, with our pitch, with our tone, with our pace. But it's really difficult to read words off a page and make it sound as though you are speaking naturally. And what you've got to do is you've got to go back. You've got to understand, when we're speaking naturally, what words we naturally intone, which words we naturally lift. And very often it's a case of, while this is happening over here, that's happening over there. It's usually a kind of balancing act. We often also lift people's names and places and titles. Essentially, we lift new information. We subdue old information. So if I give you a sentence, Mary had a lamb, that lamb's name was Larry, then you're going to lift the word Mary and lamb and Larry because they're new information or they're new names, but you're going to subdue the second reference because that's old information. We do that naturally as we're speaking, but it's unnatural to be reading, as I say, hieroglyphics off a piece of dried wood pulp. You've got to learn how to do that. You've really got to think, what are the elements that we use when we're doing it naturally, and paste that on when we're doing it kind of unnaturally when we're reading a script.
One of the things that I have loved about hosting the VoiceOver Match podcast is that with each guest that I've had, I've always been able to learn something. That was a lot of golden information that I don't think I've really heard from other sources in terms of really understanding the script. Others have said, oh, you need to read the script and kind of have a basic idea of it. But I think too often for a lot of us that are, especially the ones out on the voiceover marketplace sites like voices.com, Voice123, we're trying to deal in volume. We're auditioning. And so we don't feel like we have the time to sit there and really go through a script. But maybe the strategy should be very selective on what you're auditioning for. So rather than trying to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, just pick those that you really feel like you make a connection with. And then really make that connection, really put it out there. Now, obviously, you can't do like you did with your news stories where you kind of put it into your own words, because other producers we've interviewed have clearly said they hate it when people try to do that.
Of course, yeah.
But those ideas can still be in your head. You can be able to then read it, but know what you mean when you say it. And that really does convey through the voice.
I think so. You're trying to make that connection with people.
Now, next week on the VoiceOver Match podcast, we will actually continue this in-depth discussion on how to convey your message when doing a voiceover. Peter is also going to offer us tips for keeping your voice healthy and in fighting form. Now, don't forget, you can always find out more about the VoiceOver Match podcast at voiceovermatch.com. With your VoiceOver Match Dailycast for today, I'm Chris Lanning from NeighborhoodStage.com. Have a great day.